Brandon and Kennedy at Ghost Coast Video. It's another great day. Well, kinda.
It's
It's
a
another.
it's a great day for most people. It might not be a great day if you are Elon Musk and you are currently struggling to run a social media platform.
Well, listen. As we record this, it's the first of the month, which is never a great time if you're not paying your bills. Things are going overdue. You're running around with your hair on fire. It's good to know that he's just a little bit like the rest of us. Uh, Twitter outages the last couple of days. Every social media network has outages once in a while, but it seems like there's a lot of frequency of weird outages, events, and behaviors on this platform, especially in the last year when it used to be rock solid.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter did have some problems before this, but it's gotten a lot worse. And everyone will forgive a certain amount of outages for their favorite sites and things like that. But there's a limit to what people will accept. There's even more of a limit to what people will accept when they're told that they are going to be rate limited on a platform whose main thing is the scroll, right? Like that's what Twitter is about. Is just scroll, 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 scroll. Like that's the appeal of Twitter.
With this being, that's a very advertiser backed platform. And now, if you're a Twitter user, most of what you're seeing are like ads for chintzy Chinese merchandise. You're getting ads for things that are like obvious, ridiculous scams, or it's just randos boosting themselves. Uh, there's been just a
And there's
lot
just
of.
a few institutions that don't even really need the publicity that just have a marketing department that gets a certain number of dollars per year. And
Right.
it's not really like a big consideration. And so it's just like, we're a major pharmaceutical company. We just advertise on Twitter. I don't know. And it's just like, okay, I guess it's cool to know that back medicine. Yeah.
Really, having the status of a blue check meant a totally different thing. Like 1 year ago, now it's basically an extra layer of advertising that you have to scroll through, and it's an ad for the worst guys that you've ever heard of, just being awful in the comments of almost any platform. Uh, when you think of Twitter's culture, which text based, one of the last popular text based mediums, and really relied on you being funny, interesting, having something to say. And now it kind of becoming less about that. And even with the check mark, it's slowly becoming more of a production value based medium. And that's what everybody says when they say pivot to video. They mean make it more expensive to produce stuff. I mean, you and I are talking here, and we're spending money on the video, the camera, the equipment, the platform, distribution. All that stuff costs money. And when you ask, like, hey, why isn't there a certain amount of equity in this space or that space? You can almost add up, like, oh, you've got to pay this, and this. All of that changes the culture of a site. And when that site can't sustain its original culture, it sinks and people go somewhere else.
And this is actually kind of an interesting situation because I had been, in some ways, kind of optimistic that Twitter would stick around longer than people expected, because people don't really jump ship from social media platforms that they're attached to very easily. And a lot of times there's this perception that it's like, oh, all you have to do is make Twitter and it's 30% better and everyone will go there. And that's actually has nothing to do with it. And in fact, one of the most popular Twitter competitors right now, Blue Sky, is invite only and is lacking major features, and is the most popular not because it has great features, but because it's creating the right kind of community spaces and inviting the right kinds of folks over from other platforms and getting them to participate.
Yeah, I've got a Blue Sky account. you've got a Blue Sky account and you've been a power poster there. I think that once you get over like 100 followers on Blue Sky, that's like getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's not a large site, but you can't DM there. Threads are not fully built out yet. There's just features that are lacking. But just as you said, any online community, I mean, I go back to PHPBB and vBulletin and,
Totally.
and stuff like that. And, you know, these were really small. They were walled gardens, and they were places where the right people were there. And really, if you have two people that you can consistently rely on them for good posts, you've got a community. I can think of lots of places where I used to go where I was like, hey, I know and like just a couple people there.
Yeah. It's very interesting though, because usually social media platforms kind of wane or die because something better came along. And
Right.
you know, talking about these old forums, why aren't they as popular as they used to be? Because people have created better forms of communication that maybe they aren't better in every way, because I'm kind of with you that sometimes I'm going back to the forums, especially now in this current era of the internet's kind of getting worse. And so that's complicated in its own right. But ignoring that for a moment, for the most part, a lot of folks moved on from forums because of things like Discord, Skype,
Right.
Slack, you know, these chat services that sort of, they have some of the features of forums, and so they can replace forums in a lot of ways, but they're immediate and they provide a lot more interaction and they have better media integration and things like that. People have largely, you know, moved on. And so usually people move from social media to social media because they have a compelling reason to move like that. This Twitter thing is complicated because this is a unique case of someone burning down a successful platform with
Yeah.
no clear purpose or motives. In terms of, and I'm not really trying to overly rag on Elon here. I'm just trying to be objective about the fact that this does not make good business sense.
You're
And
saying
so,
this is someone who you invested a lot of very high quality posts into Twitter. And we may all laugh at that, but like, you were a commodity on Twitter. If you've got a large following, you are a commodity. You're an investor. So you've invested these posts and many clever witticisms, and now you're not cashing out with the dopamine, with the connection to others, or with any of the things that a power poster would get. So I'm listening to this and I'm like, when can I interject and talk about venture capital and Saudi money and give my conspiracy theory? But also, yeah, just as an investor, it's fair to say you're not getting your return on investment as a social media user.
yeah. So it's a very unique situation because as a result, people don't really know where they are going. And so there's kind of a lot of places that people are sort of drifting to as Twitter comes apart. And it's important, if you're trying to keep your brand relevant on social media, to be looking at where do you want to go based on where your audience is going and things like that, because not all of Twitter is going to go to the same place as it breaks up. Some folks are moving to LinkedIn. We know over the course of the COVID-19 situation that LinkedIn has increasingly become a social place. It used to be kind of more dry. And in particular, the last few years have really pushed it towards being a little bit more social, a little bit more fun, a little bit more people just posting about their day and then people replying and saying, yeah, me too. The program just wouldn't work all day. It's just that kind of day, you know,
Right.
and just sort of grousing and finding camaraderie with each other. That's something that you didn't used to see as much of on LinkedIn, but is a big part of the culture and community now.
Yeah. LinkedIn does have a little more room for humor, a little more room for humanity. You know, cultures are just groups of people. So yeah, I've always enjoyed LinkedIn though, for the purpose of there's less of a grind when it comes to content because your feed is yours, and there's less of a it's less structured around scrolling permanently, and more about finding people and learning what they've got going on and seeing what else is going there. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you're on LinkedIn.
we're on LinkedIn, obviously.
Yeah.
So some folks are moving to spend more time on LinkedIn. Some folks are moving back to Tumblr. That's been a very interesting one. Now, we mentioned, like, this is a somewhat unique situation with Twitter burning itself down, but Tumblr also kind of tried to burn itself down, changed hands a few times. Seemed like a lot of the folks, as it kind of started to pass hands, didn't really necessarily understand what Tumblr was or who used it. And so Tumblr been through some rough scrapes, weirdly on the rebound the last couple years. Numbers are back up, usership is back up, engagement is back up, and this Twitter stuff has a lot of potential to bring Tumblr back because Tumblr is, in a lot of ways, also heavily text-based.
Right.
And so to some people, that platform will appeal. It's kind of funny that we're even talking about Tumblr again, because a couple of years ago, it was like, don't bother with Tumblr for your brand. That's a waste of time. Now it's like, maybe post on Tumblr again.
Yeah, and of course, all of these conversations end with email. Everybody, if you're really looking for platform independence, you want people to sign up for mailing lists, so that you're able to get to their inbox, get to their phone if you can do that, and just sort of be on something that's platform agnostic. Because, not to go back to the Saudi Arabian money and the venture capitalists, but all of these platforms, more than ever, you can tell their agendas change based on their funding or their immediate targets, or one CEO out, another one in. API changes. I mean, Reddit's another text-based platform, and they don't want to get scraped or train some third-party program, and now that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
We
It
talk
all
to
ends
folks,
in.
we
Go
talk to
ahead.
folks all the time that they work in some specialized niche, like sex work laws, cannabis reform, drug war change, changing the policy to that stuff. And when you work in a sensitive topic like that, and I know
Yeah,
some of you are like, you're listening to this video, as soon as I start saying these words, you're like, ooh,
I can't
right?
even say this at
Like,
work.
right?
Yeah,
Like, these are sensitive topics. When
right.
you advocate, like if you have an advocacy group that works in a sensitive topic like that, you might, be posting for years on one platform, and then suddenly one day you find that the stuff that you're posting is no longer okay without warning. That can be a really big deal. And so, like Brandon said, I think, one of the most important takeaways from this whole situation with Twitter and everything that's going on is that you need to capture folks into your own pipeline, something like email, or for some folks, even text message, or something that's relatively personal, something where you've got a way to stay in touch with them that's a little bit agnostic of a specific platform suddenly changing their mind about your issue, or suddenly changing their mind about their policies or whatever.
Yeah. And if you go to ghostcoast.video/now, you can sign up and become an email subscriber. But it's really important that no matter where you're at, you are putting them on something that's permanent. And also for content, maybe pull out your hard drive, get people on board there, and like get your content there so that when you've got it, you don't risk losing it. I've seen those gift sites are going up in smoke.
Yep.
Everything's moving around back and forth. Even Google has said, hey, if you're not active on YouTube or Drive for long enough, we might wipe you away and save some space. So definitely, if it's really important to you, try and save it. And if it's a person, try to get them on a platform that you can put on a spreadsheet and have some outreach to.
Well said.
Well, all right. I think that's it.